Mid-unit group message September 15, 2016. That is not the end. Not even for those who wish for the end of everything to be erased from the book of life. Many believe that death is followed by nothingness, emptiness, and pure and simple extinction of any life. The most materialistic people fear death and avoid the subject. In doing so, they stop thinking about it because it's more comfortable not to face the topic head on. Just as there are those who believe in nothing, there are others who think that going to church on Sundays and paying titles will grant them indulgences and a place in what they have come to call heaven. Without criticizing any position or belief, unfortunately, they will be caught by surprise, and it may not be a pleasant one, because ignoring the spiritual laws that govern the universe does not exempt anyone from their consequences. That is because whether we are Catholic, Protestant, Evangelical, or Spiritist, we always have the faculty to question the faith we embrace, precisely to better understand it. If we don't do that, if we blindly believe in one doctrine or another, we walk blindfolded along a narrow and stony path, vulnerable to slippery moss beneath our feet and the wind that can knock us down. It is always our personal responsibility to question what we believe in, putting our concepts and ideals to the test in the context of daily life, turning theory into practice, and if by chance incompatibilities arise between what we have learned and how we live, then we must review those concepts. Understand that I'm not talking about the difficulty of putting good behavior into practice. Example, treating others well, but rather about doctrines that prescribe ritualistic and complicated approaches to truths that are actually very simple and easily applicable to life. God did not create religions and formulas. Those are human inventions. Nowadays, we no longer have time to waste with what is complicated, either because of the limited time we have to devote to spiritual activities, or because in the information age, practicality grabs our attention. We are naturally drawn to what is simple and useful, while we tend to avoid or abandon what seems too difficult. Question is practical value. Therefore, let us be practical in our lives, especially regarding the beliefs we adopt and their corresponding ideas, adapting them to our way of being, because no one changes by force or the intensity of their faith. Virtue is always found in balance. When faced with a new idea, let us think about it, reflect on whether it makes sense to us and pleases our hearts, and then analyze whether it is reasonable and sensible. Let's take, for example, the idea of reincarnation and begin by trying to refute it. We quickly run into several difficulties. If our soul is created together with our body, why are some born healthy, beautiful, rich, and powerful, while others are born poor, miserable, sick, and subject to heartbreaking conditions? It is not sufficient to answer because God will it. If God is all love, goodness, and justice, why would He treat us so differently, especially if He shows no favoritism, and we are all equally important. We begin to realize that without reincarnation, a lot of lives, there is no logical or reasonable explanation that doesn't veer into mysticism or vague declarations like, that's just how it is. We can see that this dilemma resolves itself after questioning with the acceptance of incarnation, because no other religion or philosophy provides a more satisfying answer that calms our hearts and feels intuitively right. Equity is restored when we realize we have all had the opportunity to play different roles and possess wealth and resources in other lives. This understanding removes the sense of privilege or neglect. In this sense, life becomes a spiral of spiritual progress, because that is not the end, is merely a veil that is lifted. Every day, many brothers and sisters arrive in the spiritual realm, surprised by the life beyond, where no one is strumming harps or burning in hellfire. Among those surprised are also the suicides, who suffer the most, for they try to revoke the law of the soul's immortality. The physical body can be destroyed, but never the spirit, our divine essence. Our perispirit, our energetic body, is an energetic layer that surrounds our physical body, part material and part quintessence, connected to our flesh cell by cell. Our disconnection from this physical vehicle also occurs cell by cell. If we choose to end our physical life prematurely, the separation is abrupt, and our guilty conscience drags us by affinity into deep valleys of pain. There, even without a physical body, we relive all the physical and moral anguish of our final moments. In these almost infernal places, we remain attached to our physical remains, as they are consumed by worms, witnessing their decomposition. These states persist until the vital energy of our perispirit are fully exhausted. Depending on our personal condition, our understanding, and our good or bad deeds, it may take decades before we are rescued by the Legion of Mary, Mother of Jesus, the spiritual institution responsible for this type of rescue. Our suffering may be alleviated, but it does not cease even with help, because although the soul is immortal, it suffers deep damage to its fluidic and electromagnetic structure. Only a new physical life can repair this damage, and even in this new incarnation, we will be afflicted with various physical problems, diseases, since our physical body will act as a sponge, cleansing and restoring our damaged spiritual body. Only after much time and suffering, we will be able to resume the journey we interrupt. So we realize that ignorance only increases our suffering. Therefore, we must just choose to study, question, and learn, understanding life, whether difficult or not, as a divine gift, and knowing that violating it will never be worth it. Rather than ending suffering, it multiplies it in many times over. It separates us from those we love, even if they are already in the spiritual realm. This is why, friends, useful and true faith is the one that can be challenged at any time by logic and reason. Spiritism always invites us to adopt a reasoned faith, to reading, study, and reflection, convincing ourselves to become the protagonists of our own transformation through inner reform. Let us not become victims of the discovery of the laws that govern us. Instead, let us be like the child, always curious to learn and see more of the world around them, even if we cannot yet understand the full context. What we don't yet understand is only a prelude to deeper exploration of life's mysteries. Let's make better use of our time, not just with pastimes, but also by studying and evaluating ourselves as human beings, thinking about how we can be better today without leaving it for tomorrow. A fraternal embrace, Lucius. Thank you, my friends. Until the next message.